are you?
So we haven't talked since you guys whenever you're ready.
Let's go.
We haven't talked since you guys acquired Geno Smith. How'd that all kind of come about, and what do you feel like you did?
Yeah, well, getting Geno was a really important part of this puzzle putting it together, and we've had really a rich background, and it's really important to me because I know what we can count on. We have a guy that's such a great worker. He's grown so much through his career, been through so much and overcome so much. I love the way he approaches the game. He's serious, he's competitive, works his tail off, and is a great leader in that regard. He leads the guys by the way he takes to the game, and man, he's talented, really talented. And so I think the Geno story it's worth mentioning. The guy sat for almost 6 years, and in that time, one, he didn't get the wear and the tear, so that's why he moves so well. He runs really well still. But he took to the game in a manner that was really very impressive. He was able to, one day after another, take it like the very next play I'm playing. And I watched him for the 4 straight years when he wasn't playing, just never miss that opportunity to be focused in that manner. I mean, it's just ridiculously impressive, So anyway, when he finally played, look what he's done. He's had 3 winning seasons, and he's a tremendous completion guy. He's durable, he's tough. So we're really, really fortunate to have him.
You saw him as a backup for, like you said, a few years.
4.
Did you ever feel like he was content just being that, or was he?
No, that's what I'm telling you. No, I'm telling you. It came through from early on that he was going to approach it with the thought that he is going to play the next play. And he's playing behind Russ, and Russ was in the middle of his career and doing great. And he realized what the situation was, but he never bought into it, never gave into it. And that's what's so impressive about it.
Pete, excuse me, somebody that knows you well.
Nice to meet you.
I'm sorry to do that again. I do mean, but somebody that knows you well told me before you came in and started making holistic changes, you were going to try to learn the franchise. That you knew what you would want to do, but you want to learn. Can you tell me what you've learned about the Raiders?
Yeah, that I don't need to worry about what happened in the past. They've had a hard time for a number of years, and it hasn't been smooth in any way. But I grew up knowing the franchise and knowing Al Davis and what he was all about from being in the Bay Area, and knew that there's a rich history, there's a legacy, there's a brand that is worldwide, and there's something special about that. There's a great following. The Raider Nation is a real deal, and I looked at it now that I've been around it enough. I did not spend a lot of time on the past, but I needed to understand, and I needed to know the people that I'm going to be working with the thought that Johnny Spytek coming in, that was the focus for me, is to focus on figuring out how John and I can get together and do our stuff and be really effective. Because I believe that's the most important relationship in the NFL franchises, and so I wanted to maximize that. So that's where the learning really was, and taking time and listening to him and being a good friend and being a good partner, and then it was the same approach with everybody in the program. We really have a thought that we're creating a relationship-based organization, and that means that you got to get to know who's in the building. And you got to get to know who's coming in the building, who's playing for you, who's coaching with you, and all that. So that's just been something that's been almost second nature to me. That's how important that is. So it hasn't seemed like it's any big burden or any big deal, but it's taken all of my focus to get to this point. We're rolling and really excited about it. It's really fun what we're doing, and we realize that there's some great challenges. But most of what I've learned about the past of the franchise doesn't have anything to do with what's going to happen in the next step that we take. So with all optimism and forward thinking, that's how we're approaching it.
Pete, one of the coaches on the NFC side is Dan Quinn, who told me that you are one of his 3 most influential coaches in his life. The job that Dan Quinn did at Washington last year was what for you? What did you see?
Oh, it was really, really a joy to watch. To see Dan, how he's grown, even since he's already been to the Super Bowl and had a lot of success already. But to see where he is now and see how he took over that franchise, admirable. I would hope to have that kind of success. And so it flips back around. I'm watching him, learning from him, and we talk regularly and stay in connection to fantastic season, a fantastic draft, and process to get the culture shifted as he has, and so obviously with intent. You know, he knew exactly what he was trying to do, and carried it out, and you know, reap the benefits of that. You know, it shows you how the mentality of the coach can have a big role and play a big factor in this thing. Not from the X's and O's part of it as much as just in dealing with the people and making sure that they're at their best, making great decisions, and I mean, the energy that's come out of his program is admirable for any coach at this level. And so I'm really excited. I watched him all the way through the year. He's got some of my coaches, you know, and it was just tremendous to see him deal with the whole thing. It was great.
Pete, how does getting Geno Smith change the draft approach? Is there still a possibility of taking a quarterback aside?
Sure. Yeah. We're building, you know, always, you know. So taking Geno is an immediate fix for us. It's going to last us. We're going to get a number of years from Geno at his very best. He's as healthy and ready to go. He's as tuned in as he's ever been. But that doesn't mean that we don't see a guy. There's some guys coming out that have got tremendous potential, and we'll just take a look at each spot and the opportunity that's presented and the choices that we have. But we're not excluding taking any position at this time.
You're known as a program builder. Not every head coach is. When did you become a program builder? Can people become program builders, or is that something you have?
Yeah, you can.
And who are some of the younger guys?
Obviously, you can. Yeah. You know, when I was at New England and was out the year after that, that was the year that really my life in football changed. You know, I mean, I've been coaching 27 years at that time, and at that time I really didn't know that I wanted to be a head coach. It just kind of happened, honestly, and I wasn't prepared well enough. I didn't have my philosophy together. I didn't have my approach nailed, and in that off season, you know, I had a moment where I figured it out. I need to get my act together, and I don't need to tell you the story. You can figure it out and read about it if you were somewhere else. But at that moment, everything shifted. And the next thing that happened, I went to USC. So it was pretty dang significant, you know. And it was really figuring out who I am, figuring out what my uncompromising principles were all about, figuring out, you know, how I wanted to treat the people, how I envisioned the organization coming together in all aspects. And all I can tell you is the next thing that happened, I went to SC and they were yelling at me for coming in there. They didn't want me, you know, the fans at this moment in time, you know, I was getting a terrible response. But I took it on as I couldn't care less at the time because I knew where we were going, what we wanted to do, because I'd figured out how I wanted to do it. So can you be a program builder? Can you learn how to do it? Yes, I did. And but the essence of it is figuring out who you are and what you want to stand for and how you're going to deal with the people that you're going to be dealing with in all levels. And make it has to come from your heart. It has to be right, as authentic as it can possibly be. Then you can withstand the questions and the challenges and the issues and the concerns from a place that you can be true. And let me extend this thought too, that it's extremely difficult for guys to be first-year coaches. It's extremely difficult. I got fired the first time. I got fired the second time. You know, and it's because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have my act together. And it wasn't that I wasn't wanting to be good and all that. I hadn't been through enough, you know. So sometimes you got to learn the hard way. And I hate learning the hard way. I always like the other guy to learn the hard way. But you know, sometimes you just got to go through it, and that's what took place.
Are there young guys in the league that stand out to you as up and coming program builders?
Of course. Yeah, they're all over the place. Yeah, there are.
Coach, how do you see the pedigree of all the coaches in the AFC West, and how excited are you to go against all the coaches in your division?
Well, I'm go about it in a very competitive manner. You know, I've gone against these guys for a long time, and I'm not going to assume that I've got them figured out. You know, we're going to study and work our tails off to figure out what's coming up now, how they've grown and evolved and all that. But to be battling against Andy and Sean and Jimmy Harbaugh, that's what it should be. And what will happen for us to survive the challenges of that division, we're going to be ready for whatever comes, and that's the way it should be. If you expect it to be easy and it's going to be you got an advantage, I don't see it that way. The harder it is, the better it is for us to get good. And the sooner it's hard, the sooner we get better. And so the challenges are enormous. You guys are great. I have great respect for him. I happen to be sitting next to Jim on one side, and I got Andy on the other side. In these meetings, you know, yesterday we were having a blast. So I can't wait for that to happen.
You talk about program builders. What have you seen from Bo Nix in his first year as a rookie?
Wow. Well, exactly what they would have hoped he would have been. You know, I think he came through. I saw him from the opening game of the year, and he was not ready to be the guy that he showed that he was later on in the season. He became a dynamic football player very quickly. I think a tremendous amount of credit goes to Sean building him, you know, and making him. Because it's hard to figure those guys out sometimes, and everybody has their own way of going about it, and the results are all across the lot. You know how the young guys do, and you have to have your act together to figure that out, and Sean surely did.
You guys did the Geno trade. Could you just talk about how it all came together when it started to seem like that was a realistic possibility?
Yeah, kind of. I'll tell you that. It was one of the options that I was hoping would be available, and when we talked right from the beginning, you know, there was a number of options of who we could go to, a quarterback, to kind of start the program up, and Geno was prominent in my mind because I knew exactly what we're getting, and Geno and I have a tremendously long, in-depth relationship. Talked to him all throughout, you know, this year. At times, you'd be surprised how much we were just communicating, stayed in touch, and really, it's about me supporting him and hoping for the best. And so when it came around time we could finally get to it, it was an automatic that we would take a shot at it. And fortunately, Seattle was willing to listen, and John Spytek did his first big-time deal, and he pulled it off exactly in the manner that we wanted to, and so gave us a great kickstart to what's going on.
A couple years ago, you called him one of your all-time favorite guys.
Yeah.
What all went into that?
It's because of the way he approached his life and his world in football with such tremendous consistency and commitment. The conviction to be, I'm telling you, I said it earlier, but to realize that a guy every day knew that it was one snap away from playing. That's kind of how we thought. And as he did it, he showed who he was, and he was most revealing, and he was such a great competitor. That's always the first thing that I get attracted to. He never backed off, and so when he finally got the chance, he's freaking comeback player of the year. Well, how much? The only thing he could have done better is win the whole thing, and he did his part, and I'm thrilled to be working with him. I can't wait to get going.
How do you expect him to impact the culture of what you're building in Vegas?
How do I expect? Well, I expect to do it really well.
Well, I'm sorry, Geno specifically, like how bringing Geno in, what do you
Well, no, that's one aspect of it. You know, getting Max signed for a long term to show the commitment to one of the great competitors in the game was one step of it. Getting Geno was a step on the other side of the ball to make it clear we're not sitting around and waiting to see what happens and hope things turn out. We're going to proactively go after it. John and I are committed to making that happen in every choice, in every turn, every step of the way, all the way through this whole process. And as this offseason keeps taking its shape, we're going to be about that mentality, and that is what creating, your cultures. It's making statements of who you are on a regular basis, what you stand for on a regular basis, that will eventually be understood as what this culture is.
There's a few times now where quarterbacks are kind of getting second chances. Geno with you in Seattle, Sam Darnold, Baker. What do you think goes into kind of helping those guys have success in that second chance opportunity?
In the first chance of it, you got to figure out who they are and figure out what they bring, what they offer at that opportunity, that time in their life, and then try to maximize that. And it's no different. It's the next step. In the next chance you get another guy and you bring a guy in that's been around or whatever, you got to figure out who they are. It isn't any different than any aspect of my program. I got to know everybody in this program. I got to figure out who they are, what makes them extraordinarily unique, and then see how we can celebrate that uniqueness by the way we position them and ask them to do what they do. And so it doesn't matter whether it's a young guy or an old guy or where they come from.
Could you reference what you told us a minute ago about after your first two jobs you had to learn who you were? Is that maybe sometimes with players too, that after a while they have to learn who they are?
Yeah, I think that's what living is. I think that's what life is all about. It doesn't matter where you come from or what you do. As you go through your life, you experience stuff, and then you have pitfalls and there's suffering, and you have to bounce back and come back and continue to discover and uncover what you're all about. And I think there's nothing. That's what life is. And so the stuff we're doing, there ain't nothing special about what we're doing. We're just living with them and helping them. But I do feel like you can accelerate the process by helping people go through the steps that they have to take for the self-discovery that's necessary. It's going to happen anyway, but we like to think we can coach it along and capture a little bit earlier than others.
Pete.
What do you remember
Russ
about
will fit in
what do you remember about the first impression Dave Canales made on you, and what made you want to hire him and bring him along?
That's a good question. It was a long time ago now. You know, she worked 15 years ago or something like that. David came in as a real energetic, open, good communicator, athletic, can coach on the field, can move and coach, and at that time, that's all I could tell. You know, I didn't know very well. He was a pup, but he grew up in the program. He was really loyal. He was really dedicated to what we were doing, and really curious, you know, to learn and to study. And right now, I mean, he's as close to the mentality that I'm teaching that with Danny Quinn, Sark and Lane and those guys that that I can get. You know, because he was with us such a long time that he became the philosophy and the approach, and so. He found himself through that, and I watched every step they took this year, and I'm really thrilled for the progress they made and the way they kept bouncing back from the challenges of putting together a new program, and I think he's going to do a great job.
What was the hardest part about the way he handled his quarterback decision? I mean,
He did a masterful job of that. That was very difficult. He's given the number one pick in the draft, and all the expectations that come along with that, and I think he along the way he made tough decisions. One step at a time, and in those decisions, I thought he maximized the position. I thought Andy did a really good job when he came off the bench this year. He gave him a real spark and showed why David and his staff was believing in the things they were believing in. They saw success happen. They could feel it. They just got a taste of it. It didn't last as long as they would have liked. But then when he came back and got Bryce going, I thought that was an obvious illustration of why he made the decisions that he made. Bryce needed to sit back a bit and learn from Andy. Andy was willing to teach him, and they went through that whole process. So when Bryce came back, he got better throughout the season and finished strongly. And so I would think, I can't speak for them, but I would think that they found out a tremendous amount of information to head forward with the quarterback position. I don't know where they are and what they're going to do about it, but I think they're in a pretty darn good place right now. I'm looking forward to the second season.
Free agency there's always difficult decisions ahead.
Sorry, the guys in the front are dominating.
Free agency always creates some difficult decisions. You had some starters from last year's defense that got left in free agency. Kind of, I guess, what went into all of that? Do you feel like you've adequately replaced them?
I think I said early on, we'd like to keep our guys. Yeah, that was the truth, because that's all we had. And so as we entered into the process, we found out that there was a lot of guys that were interested. And so we made each decision one at a time, and I thought John did a great job of giving us an opportunity. I think we got better. And so and in managing the process, we had to spread that money around and make all those cool decisions that you got to make. And I thought John was right on it. I'm thrilled about the guys that we picked up. We've particularly on the defensive, start with Geno on the offensive side, but particularly on the defensive side where we hit some numbers. We got guys that have the mentality coming in here that they have something to prove. I'm always looking for guys that got a chip on their shoulder. And from Jeremy Chin, his excitement about coming to the program, to see what we're going to get out of L-Rob, he's going to be a fantastic addition, calling the defenses. And to wind up at this late time when we just knocked in both Devin White, what a story he's going to be. I mean, he's a fantastic addition to our team. And so, and then getting our own guys signed up, Of course, it started with Max, but Adam is a big deal to us, and we've found a couple guys in the process too that are kind of coming through the ranks, guys that we acquired late in the season that will be challenging for our spots. Eric Stokes, holy shoot, that guy is exactly the kind of guy I'm looking for, at that spot. Signing Isaiah was a really big deal too, and getting him committed. Our safeties are long and fast. Our corners are faster than hell. It's going to be a competitive group. It's the kind of group that Joey Wood's going to put together. You'll see he and Mark Robinson. They're going to put together an excellent group, and it's one of my favorites to see that thing come together. So I'll kind of be tweaking in there a little bit myself. Can't wait.
How do you think Russ will fit in New York?
Russ knows how to fit in. He understands the game. He has great wisdom about what it takes in this league. He can adapt to whatever situations he's in because he competes so well, and he's such a committed competitor. He'll go in there with a really clear vision of what he hopes to do and add to the program. He'll be receptive to the new coaching. Brian's going to do a great job with him, I would think. And I hope, I don't know, but I hope for Russ's sake that it's a really competitive opportunity and it's wide open, and they're going to have to deal with another guy too. They may get a young kid coming in there right off the top. So Russ has no problem with competing, and he'll take it on with real character and vision for himself and how he can add. I think it's a great place to go. Going to New York, that's a great challenge. So he'll be up for it.
Pete, why were you between the two Harbaughs in the coaching picture yesterday?
What do you mean? What are you worried about that?
I was just curious if that was
I like those guys. Those guys are great football coaches. We've battled for years, and Jimmy more than John, but I like being around those guys.
Geno
Always
going
have.
into the final year of his contract, is there a desire to get him extended?
We're working on it. Yeah, we're working on it. And G's excited to get going, to get started. He'll be here when we get rolling. And but we are working on it. Yeah.
What is Ryan Paganetti going to do for you?
Pags is going to come in. Ryan Paganetti is going to come in and do a really fill in a really extraordinarily important role for myself personally. He's going to be working with me directly, as well as the offensive and defensive staffs. He's got great background. He's got this world of analysis is something that's really continues to grow. And guys that have had good background, they have so much to offer. And Ryan has a tremendous and rich history of learning how to deal with the analytics part of it, but yet football as well. He's been a coach. He's dealt with the head coach. He's very familiar with the kind of questions. No, I'll take that back. He won't be familiar with the kind of questions I'll ask him, but he'll be ready to handle the answers. So I'm really thrilled that he came. We just got him a couple days ago, and we've already been going after it.
How much of the stuff that he brings from the analytics world feels like it's going to be helpful to you, and how much of it feels like it's sort of science fiction at this point?
Well, to me, it's a little bit of science fiction. I get that. AI's around the corner for us. We're already involved in doing stuff, and Ryan understands everything. He's been in it long enough that he brings a connection to the past, which I really like, because he can make sense of what we used to look at and how, as we look at things now. He is right here with me on everything that we're doing. So I'm really thrilled that he's there.
Team with Seattle one for you. 2 years ago, you guys had 2 first-round picks. Got a pair of guys who kind of become foundational guys in Spoon and JSN. Just what do you remember out the process of scouting those guys and getting both of them?
Yeah, both of them were uniquely, really, really unique players. They stood out at their spots in the special talents that they brought. Spoon, he is a tremendous football player, and it's all because of how instinctive he is and how his mentality for going for it, the chip that he's got to prove who he is on a regular basis, play to play, moment to moment, shows up. JSN he's just a gifted football player. There's everything comes natural to him. He had a tremendous second half of the season showing that. But they got 2 great picks, for the long haul. I think they should be really. I'm sure they're really excited about it.
Pete, what kind of
good to see you, brother.
You had an interesting Kyle you said was about him, even though at his age as a fullback.
Well, he's a very unique player, almost an iconic player in the position of fullback. We saw him for years, had tremendous problems with what he offered, because of all of the things he could do. I think it's a great statement about Kyle figuring it out and how to utilize him in his past years to be a threat and an issue and a problem. Really effective man. And so he's shown the league. He's really the guy. To do all those things. So that's what I think.
Pete, what kind of input have you gotten from Tom Brady?
A tremendous. What kind? Let me answer it specifically. Dealing with Tom is a moment-to-moment recollection of who he is. He stands for so much. He is not just a trivial, easygoing dude. He is on it, and I say that because he's such a tremendous competitor. He competes at everything that he's doing. He's really a clear communicator, directed, focused, going back to understanding who he is to great depths. He's an amazing asset. Really is an amazing asset in an array of ways. The only issue is that he's not around all the time. We're not there all the time with him. But it's not that he's not competing all the time. He's keeping track of everything. We talk regularly, really close with John, and they have a great relationship so that we can add the richness that he offers. He's going to have a blast doing this. He's so excited about it. He's so involved with everything. And we're trying to do a good job of really keeping him connected, so he really can be at the edge of making, giving the advice and help us make decisions on a way that's representative of ownership. Ownership has really changed at the club, and Mark Davis did a tremendous job in envisioning what he could put together, starting with Tom and Tom Widener that came with him, Egon Durbin and Michael Meldman. Those guys, they bring an energy like I bring, and there's an attitude that we share that is really compatible, and we're all looking forward to the next step. I hope with a real cutting-edge approach and an outlook that could be very unique and seen as that. And so that's why this is such a great opportunity for me to have this chance.
Are you talking daily, or how do you end up?
Not daily with everybody. Oh, Tom's available moment to moment. Yeah, we're speed dialing the whole time. Speed dialing? Can you speed dial these days?
You've always brought in stories outside of football that inspire you, inspire your team, people. What are some stories or teams or athletes that have your attention right now outside of football?
Well, you know what's going on outside of football that's fun for me is the class I'm teaching at USC, and all of the opportunities to communicate and also to receive information from young people at school, as well as the people that have become part of that class too. It's an array of stars. Just a couple weeks ago we were sitting there talking with Ted Lasso, and then we're talking with the next week we're talking with Steve Kerr, and a couple weeks before that we were talking with Deepak Chopra, and they were part of the course, and to see that exchange of that kind of an array of wisdom in a class that I'm involved with, I'm just like a kid in a candy store. It's just been so much fun, and so just with those people I mentioned, think of the array of perspectives, and so I'm hoping that it'll be clear coming off this off season for me, truly an off season, that it hasn't been about sitting there just fishing at the river. It's been, I've done that too, but there was an opportunity for a tremendous amount of growth, and I can't wait to share stuff in the new outlook that I have and the things that have adjusted and all that. But the philosophy will stay the same, but the approach and the mentality and the nuances will be constantly part of it. Yeah.
First off season with John, what have you learned about working together, John Spytek?
Spytek? It's been awesome. He was picked out by Tom, first of all. Tom knew John along the way, Michigan guys and all that, which I'm really tired of listening to. But the Michigan background was kind of where they started, but they built a relationship that it will be so significant in this program. They communicate really well. They talk hard to each other, and I think John can bring out the best in Tom and Tom the best in John. And hopefully, knowing that the relationship between the head coach and the general manager is the most significant and impacting relationship. John and I have started off, with a dedication to really collaborate in every way that we can to bring out the best in both of us. And so it's gone well so far. We're underway. I have no concern about how it's going to go. I can already see us hitting it. And so, he's got the draft coming up. He's already made a bunch of deals. He signed all the coaches. He's got all this thing going. He's been on point on everything we've done, and only the highest of expectations have come from that.
We're about a month away from the draft. It's like we're about a month away from the draft. What have been your early thoughts about just the quality of this draft?
There's a lot of excitement about the draft for the clubs because there's tremendous players in an array of spots. They're not all as strong as the others, but there's guys throughout that really get us cranked up, and we're going to have our wish list. We're going to be hoping that these guys are going to be there when we choose. We have a tremendous position in the draft at 6 spot throughout the rounds. We'll be active. We're going to be very creative. We're not settling with anything. Every single opportunity we have, we're going to investigate, be prepared to do that, and try to take full advantage of it for us. And so I love John's approach, and the guys he's got around him. Mark Thews is a big impact for how we're thinking. Our coaches will be involved, and we're going to take, if you either compete or you're not, so we're going to take advantage of every opportunity using all of the elements that we have.
Pete, did you ever in your wildest dreams think that you'd be teaming up with Tom Brady one day?
No. When that, I never did think that could happen. I couldn't even foresee the path to that. And then when he jumps into the Raiders, to me, the entire image of this opportunity shifted. The expertise that he brings, the uniqueness, I didn't know how he would be to work with. I didn't know that. Just competed against him, listened to him over the years, had great admiration and respect and all that. But he is really grounded in his mentality, and that's what makes him so valuable to us, because we can draw from that. There's been a number of opportunities already to position him to speak on behalf of a unique perspective that like nobody else has. And so about a ton of things, but particularly about the quarterback position in offense and what's going on that side. And I translate his talk from the offensive side of it and his perspective there to what we're doing on the other side of the ball. And it's been tremendous. It's going to continue to be, and it's, I never would have ever imagined that something like that could happen. But I'm telling you, as soon as it was announced, it immediately shifted my thought about what this opportunity was about.
Given your history with the Super Bowl, just what's that relationship like?
Well, it isn't just about the Super Bowl. We played them a number of times and beat them.
Hey, you had Dave Canales on your staff for a long time.
Yeah.
What did you see? Did you see in him the potential to be a head coach one day? Just sort of your thoughts on Dave in that dozen years I think he was with.
Yeah, somebody asked me earlier about program builders. David paid attention to what we were doing throughout. He grew in our organization, in our mentality and culture and all of that. And he never fought the process. He was always drawing from the process and became an articulate defender and presenter and proponent of what we were doing. And it was obvious. And so he goes into that job with a structure and a philosophy and an outlook and vision for what he wanted to create, and he's a good enough communicator that he can make sense of it. So when I was asked, are there guys? That's what I would be looking for. I'd be looking for somebody that has their act together. This challenge that owners have and clubs have to hire new coaches when they have to hire, it's a very difficult process. It's a very difficult decision to make, and there's so much that goes into it to find somebody who can immediately have their act together so that they can be impacting on the way they approach the game, the people that they deal with, the way they think, the way they operate, the expectations, the vision, all of that. And David is equipped with that, and he can communicate it, he can convey it. I listened to him talk to his team throughout the year, and heard him stay on point and stay true. He's given them a chance to have a really solid start to this run.
Pete, I'm sorry. What did you guys see in linebacker Christian Ellis? Were you surprised the Patriots matched that kind
I thought he was a really versatile player, a good player. We went after him. We like challenging that aspect of the process so that we could go about every single opportunity. We went into it, but they saw in him what we saw in him, and so they matched it up and kept it.
Pete, I know that it's probably been a whirlwind for you, but how do you like Las Vegas so far? There's kind of a new frontier aspect to it, which probably fits with how you...
Yeah, there is. Yeah, Las Vegas is obviously an exciting place, and I'm not taking part in the exciting place of it, but I haven't been there. I've never even been downtown, but it does have a feel. It does have a sense, and there's an excitement about it. That's why people go to Las Vegas, and why everybody that you talk to that are friends of ours are going to come watch our game. I don't know where they're going to stay, but they're all coming to town, and everybody wants to be part of the Vegas thing. And our players feel that too. It's a great place for young players. It's a great place for them to grow up with tremendous challenges that we have to help them through. But
you haven't
it's an incredible place.
You haven't rolled the strip yet?
What was it about Chip?
Fine, isn't it? Yes. With Liam Cohen being hired in Jacksonville, with him being hired in Jacksonville, Sean McVay's coaching tree continues to expand. Just wondering, have you seen that influence in the league?
Sean?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
With his other coaches.
I think his influence is huge. There's so many guys who to their opportunities. And I always think of all those guys.
Coaching coaches. Oh, your own coaches. preparing them for that next level. You have your own tree that's expanded. What is it as kind of the figurehead mentor that you're trying to instill that those guys, that your assistants can carry on?
That's a good question. What really we're trying to